Every family in these hollows has a rule nobody ever wrote down. Don't put your hand anywhere you can't see into, and don't flip the flat rocks along the creek in August. We're ranking 8 animals in West Virginia's Appalachians, but not by how hard they can hit you. We're ranking them by the measure people here use without ever saying it out loud, which is how much of your life it actually takes afterward. An afternoon, a scar, a summer, a childhood. Number 8 takes an afternoon and hands it straight back, while number 1 takes a childhood, weighs less than a raindrop, and hatched 40 feet from somebody's back door. If you're from anywhere along this spine of mountains, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and the one animal your family taught you to leave alone. Number 8. The northern short-tailed shrew. We're going to start with something you were specifically told wasn't real. Somewhere in a classroom you picked up the fact that North America has no venomous mammals, and that is wrong, and the correction to it is living under your woodpile at this exact moment. The northern short-tailed shrew is roughly the length of your thumb, slate gray, with eyes so small they barely register, and there are almost certainly more of them within 100 yards of where you're sitting than there are squirrels. It is one of the most abundant mammals in the state, living in leaf litter, old stone walls, garden mulch, the gap under porch steps, and occasionally the basement. And what makes it worth the opening slot of this whole video is that glands under its jaw feed a toxin into its saliva, which it uses to subdue prey considerably larger than itself. So why does something like that land dead last? Because of the rule we're using to sort this list. A bite to a human, which realistically only happens when somebody picks one up thinking they've found a mouse, produces burning pain and swelling wildly out of proportion to an animal that size, and it can run for hours or stretch across a couple of days. It borrows an afternoon and gives it back, which is exactly what a number 8 looks like here. It still earns its place, though, for a reason worth holding on to as we climb. Most people in this state would swear there is nothing venomous in West Virginia apart from 2 snakes, and meanwhile a venomous mammal has been living in the flower bed the entire time. If the very bottom of this ranking is something almost nobody knows exists, that should make you curious about what's waiting at the top. Number 7. The common snapping turtle. Every kid raised near water in this state has lived some version of this scene. Farm pond, late July, water the color of sweet tea, and somebody's cousin announcing there's a big one under the bank before reaching in to prove it. The common snapping turtle lives in nearly every slow creek, farm pond, and river bottom in West Virginia, and a mature animal runs 30 or 35 pounds with a shell like scrap iron and a head it can throw sideways with a reach that astonishes anyone who has only seen one on television. Here's the part people get wrong. Because out in deep water, a snapper is a coward with room to drop into the mud, which is why swimmers are essentially never bothered. The danger arrives on land or in shallows, where the animal cannot retreat. A female crossing a road in June to lay eggs, a big one hauled up on a trot line, one cornered in a pond by boys with a stick. And here the folklore needs correcting, because the turtle that has actually taken a finger off somebody in the medical literature is the alligator snapper. And that animal lives in Gulf drainages and has never lived in West Virginia. What our snapper leaves behind is deep lacerations, severed tendons, and a wound taken in pond water, which is exactly the kind notorious for turning into a serious infection. The shrew borrows a day and gives it back, and this marks a hand for the next 60 years. The only thing keeping it this low is frequency. It will never come find you, and every injury it causes is the direct result of a human choosing to close the distance by reaching, grabbing, or showing off. It is the only entry here avoidable by doing nothing, a luxury about to disappear as we climb. Number 6. The copperhead. Now we reach the one everybody has been waiting for, and the fear people carry about copperheads is aimed at the wrong part of the animal entirely. They are afraid a copperhead will kill them, and it almost certainly will not. The copperhead is one of only 2 venomous snakes in the state, and it accounts for more venomous bites than anything else in the eastern United States, which has nothing to do with aggression and everything to do with camouflage. The copperhead's entire strategy is to hold perfectly still and trust that its coppery hourglass bands will vanish into dead leaves and dappled shade, and they do vanish completely, even from people actively looking for them. So the bite almost always lands on somebody who had no idea there was a snake anywhere in the world, reaching into a woodpile, stepping over a log instead of onto it, or walking barefoot to the truck at night. Now comes the reassuring part of it, because copperhead venom is comparatively mild as pit vipers go. A good share of defensive bites turn out dry with no venom injected at all, and deaths are extremely rare. Here is why it still outranks a turtle capable of taking fingers off. A real envenomation is not a puncture wound, but tissue damage, and the hand or foot swells into something that does not look like it belongs to you and keeps swelling for days. Then comes the tail end nobody puts in a video, which is weeks and sometimes months of stiffness in the joint and a foot that no longer wants to carry weight. So the honest measure of a copperhead is a summer, plus a bill you'll be paying into next year, plus a permanent flinch every time you reach into shadow for the rest of your days. Number 5. The bat roost. Number 5 is the first entry where the animal never actually touches you, which is why everything above this point is harder to defend against. Bats are all through these mountains, roosting in barn lofts, church steeples, attics, and above all the abandoned mine portals West Virginia has more of than almost anywhere. You're expecting me to say rabies here, and I'm deliberately not going to, because rabies is a danger people already take seriously, and this list is about the ones they don't. What genuinely belongs at number 5 is in the dirt underneath the roost. Where bat and bird droppings pile up over years, they enrich the soil. And in that soil, a fungus called histoplasma grows extremely well, with West Virginia sitting inside the Ohio and Mississippi Valley region where it thrives. In the ground, it is harmless, and the problem begins only when somebody disturbs it and puts it into the air. That happens when a family shovels out an old barn before selling the home place, or when teenagers walk into a mine portal with a flashlight on a Saturday. You breathe it in, and that is the entire encounter, with no bite and no moment anyone could point to later. For most people, it amounts to a week of feeling like they've caught the flu, though a heavy dose in a closed space can put a healthy adult in the hospital with severe pneumonia. The version that matters more for our ranking is quieter, because in some people, the infection scars the retina, and years or decades later, that scarring can bleed and eat away the center of their vision. It isn't higher because the odds favor you, and it's here because don't put your hand where you can't see it is a good rule that does not cover air. Number 4. The black bear. Let's have this argument honestly, because I know where it's going in the comments. The black bear is on the state seal, chosen for tenacity, printed on hats and mugs and every gift shop between here and Beckley. West Virginia does not merely happen to have bears living in it, West Virginia is genuinely fond of them. The population behind it backs that up because from a low of 500 animals in the 1970s, it has come roaring back to somewhere between 12 and 15,000, spread across all 55 counties, showing up in orchards, campgrounds, and the tree line behind the elementary school. So why is an animal like that at 4th? And the answer is the rule we set at the start. If we ranked by how hard something hits, this would be number 1, and the video would be 4 minutes long. We rank by how much of your life it takes, weighted by how often it takes it, and a black bear almost never asks for yours. It wants the garbage, the bird feeder, and the cooler in the truck. Serious attacks are rare, and the ones that happen cluster around 2 situations: a sow who thinks you're between her and her cubs, and far more commonly, a bear that somebody fed. A bear that has learned people mean food is no longer shy. It has an expectation, and when it isn't met, the bear presses. So here is the placement of it stated plainly, which is that the black bear is the only entry in this countdown capable of taking everything in about 2 seconds, and statistically, it simply does not do it, which is what 4th place looks like when you rank by consequence instead of raw power. The strongest animal here, sitting under 3 things that never look like a threat until they are one. Number 3. Cattle. Number 3 is the only animal on this list that most West Virginians would describe without hesitating as entirely safe. It is also the one they turn their back on, which is the problem, because every other animal here is something you face, and this is something you walk away from. Agricultural safety researchers have said this for years, and almost nobody outside farming has heard it. Cattle cause more work-related animal deaths in the United States than any wild species on the continent. The animal at the top of that list is not a bear or a snake, but a cow standing in a field somebody crosses every morning. The mechanism is what people get wrong, because they picture a bull lowering its head and charging like a cartoon. Bulls genuinely are the most dangerous individuals in any herd, but the large majority of serious injuries are crushings rather than attacks. A beef cow runs between 1,000 and 1,400 pounds, and none of it needs to be angry with you. It only needs to be startled in a tight space and to shift sideways 2 feet while you happen to be standing between it and a gate post. Now, put that in a West Virginia setting, because the context is what pushes it this high. Cattle are the backbone of livestock farming here, on small family operations working steep ground. The people doing that work skew old. They are very often working alone, and a hollow where the cell signal is more rumor than service is a long way from any help that could reach a man pinned against a fence. What the 4 seconds leave behind is permanent in a way a bite is not, and a farmer who can no longer farm is not making a career change in this state. Number 2. The Lone Star Tick. Number 2 takes something nothing else here can reach because it takes every meal you have left. The Lone Star tick, whose females carry a single white dot on the back that makes it the easiest identification on this list, used to be a southern animal and is not anymore. Milder winters have pushed it north across large parts of West Virginia, and unlike most ticks, it does not sit and wait, but hunts, detecting carbon dioxide and moving toward you across open ground. The bite can sensitize a person's immune system to a sugar molecule called alpha-gal, present in the flesh of most mammals, meaning beef, pork, venison, and lamb. Once that switch flips, eating any of those things can trigger a reaction running from hives and vomiting all the way to full anaphylaxis. The cruelty is in the timing, because the reaction is delayed by 2 to 6 hours and sometimes longer, so it never happens at the table where somebody might make the connection. It arrives at 1 in the morning, and the link back to the pork chop is completely invisible. People spend years being told it's stress or their gallbladder before anybody tests for it, and health authorities believe the number of Americans affected could run into the hundreds of thousands. Now, sit with what that means in this particular place. Deer season, a pig roast in the spring, pepperoni rolls, and a hunting culture where a chest freezer represents a family's entire year of food. This tick doesn't merely make somebody sick, it removes them from the table their whole community is organized around, 3 times a day, indefinitely. The only reason it isn't number 1 is that it takes an adult life already largely lived and edits it, whereas number 1 takes one that hasn't properly started. Number 1. The eastern treehole mosquito. The animal at the top of this list weighs less than a raindrop, bites in daylight rather than at dusk, and is a poor flyer that never travels far from where it hatched, which is the most important detail in this entire video, so hold on to it. The eastern treehole mosquito breeds in small pockets of standing water, which in the woods means a rot hole in a hardwood, but it does far better in what we leave lying around. A stack of tires behind the shed, a bucket, a sagging tarp, a dog bowl, nobody emptied. A bottle cap of water is a nursery, and this mosquito carries lacrosse virus. For decades, West Virginia has been one of a handful of states reporting most of this country's cases, which makes it an Appalachian illness. Most infections stay mild, but when it turns, it becomes lacrosse encephalitis, swelling of the brain, and the overwhelming majority of severe cases occur in children. Deaths are rare, which is the good news and the end of it, because surviving this is not the same as recovering. A meaningful share of the children who come through a severe case are left with seizures they'll be medicated for, or trouble in school that wasn't there before. An afternoon, a scar, a summer, a childhood. Now, go back to that detail about the poor flyer, because it means the mosquito that bit a child in that yard almost certainly hatched in that same yard, not out in the deep woods and not anywhere a family could avoid. Nobody has ever taught a child to be careful around a bucket because the danger has no eyes and no teeth. It was manufactured out of rainwater and an old tire by the very people it went on to hurt. The people in these mountains have spent generations learning precisely which shadows to walk around, and they are genuinely good at it. It turns out the last one was never in the woods at all, but out in the yard, sitting in the rain, in something somebody left out on a Tuesday and forgot about entirely.